Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Energy Unleashed podcast. My name is Suzanne Worthley, and I'm here with my partner, Kim Hess, once again.
Well,
Hey,
hello.
hello. We are going to do something today that is, I think, kind of rampant, and it may indeed, Kim, I never let her in on this stuff much, by the way, until we're into it, just so I get her organic feedback.
Yeah.
This may be happening because of the actual situation in our world today. But what I want to talk about is skepticism, disenchantment, disenchanted and disillusionment. So just being disillusioned, disenchanted, and that kind of dovetails in with skepticism. So basically, I had a couple clients, one specifically just a couple days ago, who said he was adorable. He was a young man. He was here with his mom, and he had never seen anything like this before. In fact, I asked him, I go, "Are you coming under duress today?" And he goes, and then he looks over at his mom, and then he looks back at me, and I go, "It's okay." And he goes, "Well, kind of." I love that when that happens, because at least they're honest, right?
Yeah.
But I said, it's okay, just take what resonates. I say that all the time, same with these videos. And I said, why? What's going on? And he goes, "Well, I don't really believe in any of this stuff. I don't really believe in any of this stuff." I said, "Do you know much about this stuff?" And he's like, "Well, no." And I think there's the key. I think a lot of this is knowledge and wisdom. I think a lot of skepticism comes from fear. I'm not judging or saying anybody's right or wrong in anything at any time, but I think especially when it comes to the world of energy or spiritualism, or God forbid, we're going to talk about dogma in a minute.
Mhm.
I think I think a lot of it comes from the unknown. And
Yeah.
what was so completely adorable about this young man is after, we got into things and I started scanning him and talking, and and I keep bringing up things, his eyes kept getting bigger and bigger at certain points, and he's like, how would you know that about me? And I'm like, because that's what I do. And then I would scan something in his body and I knew it was there. And he's like, Again, there's no way that you would know that." And I go, "No, there is a way I would know that, because that's what I do. This is my work." So it just kept validating over and over and over that there were things beyond his current knowledge base that may have indeed been something he could ponder or think about,
Yeah.
or God forbid, believe, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this goes across the board for many of us, that we're scared to believe in things that we don't know about. Does that make
Yeah.
sense, that
Oh,
statement?
yeah. I agree with you on that. That can be with a lot of different types of subjects.
It
You
can
know,
be
it
with
could be
everything. So
anything.
I don't want to
Like,
go
yeah.
too bonkers and
No,
keep this
I'm
a
just
little
saying
bit
that
on
that is a
spiritualism.
natural human response to
Right? It's the
we
human
don't have
trait.
any knowledge about. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So hence I wore this shirt.
That's awesome.
Because in the world of, energy and spiritualism and all of that too, we want to believe. And I think that's part of the humanness also. We crave believing. And I think this is oftentimes why people get so sucked into dogmatic and or cults and or anything, because we want someone to tell me what I believe so that I'm safe and secure in that belief. And I
Yeah.
think this is literally crumbling around us in so many, like you said, it's in so many sandboxes we could play in, but it is definitely crumbling around this kind of a belief with, UFO knowledge coming out, aliens coming out, shows on Bigfoot coming out, everything coming out in that spiritual and supernatural world, but truly in spirituality as well, because I think people are heartbroken right now in so many ways.
I agree. And it starts with all the fear. Like, think about the fear that has been constantly thrown at everybody for the last, 4 or 5 years of just fear, everything. You should be afraid of everything. And
Yes.
so when you have fear like that, you kind of close down what you're willing to open yourself up to,
And,
because
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's because you don't feel safe.
Well,
So
and ironically, we have the Vibe Tribe, my membership, my online membership, and Kim works with me in terms of that to write a prayer every month. And this month, our theme for the Vibe Tribe, I pull a tarot card every month, and that's the theme of the presented materials. And if you want to look into Vibe Tribe, which I suggest everyone maybe does,
Mhm.
it's on my website. But you get a whole energy report, you get prayers, you get meditations, etc. And it's the whole thing is about the lovers this month and talk about disillusionment, talk about the steps, talk about how we go through such euphoric things in
Mhm.
relationships. And it isn't always just love relationships. This happened to be about the lovers. But we talked, especially in the training video, I talked about the different kinds of disillusionment steps we go through. And even in relationships, we're so scared sometimes to open our hearts to love again
Mhm.
because we've been heartbroken.
Mhm.
Or we're so scared to believe in something again because we've been disillusioned. And I think this is a really, really limiting way to live. However, it's a really normal thing to do. And I
Listen,
want to
y-
bring it forward so we don't do it anymore because it makes our lives very small.
and it just makes me think about like it creates the health issues that it creates to be in that place of fear and closing down. So you have panic attacks, you have anxiety,
Mhm.
depression, like all of those things come up that are so rampant, I think, with people that have closed themselves down to that point of not sure what to do now, you know,
Yes.
or what do you believe? Because you feel like you're lied to through all kinds of different things coming our way, right? It's just not trustworthy.
Well, you nailed the line I want to unleash even further. You feel like you've been lied to.
Yeah.
What is happening right now is energetically, we are pulling back literally the layers of disillusion or illusion, I should say, illusion to find what we have been dissed on. Meaning, energetically, we are organically having unearthing of things like, oh, all of a sudden, this is really what the Bible is about. Or,
Mhm.
wow, this is really not true. And we thought it was. And a lot of it has to do with spirituality because
Mhm.
the most powerful program we have on this planet is the Savior program. And the Savior program dovetails out of spirituality for almost everything we do. And then it goes into everything else, meaning I want something or someone or something to save me
Mhm.
because I can't do it myself. And this is really breaking down everything in our psyche, our subconscious, our cell structure to realize we've been lied to in a multitude of ways. And it's coming out. I mean, think of the things that are coming out in governments that were like, wait, what? That's
Mhm.
true? Medicine, wait, what? That's true? We're doing a lot of it in every sandbox. And
You
so,
just keep bringing up all these rabbit holes. It's hard not to
right?
dive down into those. Yeah. Yeah.
And and again, you just nailed what I was going to say. We're so sucked into 8 million rabbit holes that we don't even know how to breathe right now. And I don't know if I effing want to even have another rabbit hole be showing me that it's not true because then we get to this point where like, is anything real? And this is the scariest one when we do spiritual disenchantedness or spiritual, meaning not dogma now, spiritual work, energy work, because you start to go, shit, is this even real? And when we start to study holographic, we start to think it isn't real. And then that can get really, really crazy scary. And it is real, but it is not what we think it is. So our brains are struggling so hard right now. And what we want to do is we want to glom onto somebody, something to give us that stability. And it's exactly the opposite. Our job is to go with the flow of the instability and find the stability here. But
Oh,
man, that's hard.
internal. Yeah. Because when you're solid here with what you believe and you're living your truth, everything else, it just doesn't affect you the same way at all. You know,
And I think even further, Kim, when you're solid here with not believing,
Mhm.
that's when it gets easier. Because if I all of a sudden do come across a Bigfoot article that I read or a show that I watch that really resonates with me, and I really didn't believe in Bigfoot, I can maybe all of a sudden just have a belief that maybe that is a thing.
Mhm.
It's leaving open the non-belief as well. It's leaving open the I don't have to believe in anything, really. It's that neutral space.
Yeah. But is it okay? I think about this because, like, say somebody's an atheist,
Mhm.
they don't believe in a God,
Right.
any kind of other afterlife, potentially. Um, but then you have an experience that kind of opens your eyes from a maybe it's like someone who passed that just kind of shows up in your life, or you feel them, you smell them. There's something
Mhm.
like a spiritual or spirit.
Right.
So that what you're saying is by being like, if you're atheist, is that believing so hard there is nothing, or is that being neutral? Like I don't, I'm not in a
Yeah,
good place with
I
that.
kind of think that it's both. I think a lot of atheists throw the baby out with the bathwater, that proverbial line,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think a lot of atheists just have surrendered to, so I think
Okay.
it depends on the person, first of all. I
Okay.
think regardless if we have those situations, the belief changes or the mind opens up or the heart opens up. So I think what I'm saying is by being open to a possibility at all times, by staying neutral, meaning don't dig your feet in so hard to a belief that this is absolutely going to be my belief forever and ever, amen.
That's
Let's say I'm
exactly what
23 years
okay.
old and I'm standing on the altar and I'm looking at that beautiful, gorgeous man that I'm madly in love with, and I say, and till death do us part. 7 years later, I'm like, shit, what did I say? And then 45 years later, you're like, you kidding me? So I think our beliefs change. I
Yeah.
just sorry, but
We're doing-
I mean,
yeah.
that's one that kills me. Like, why do we have a belief in our head that I'm going to know a person intimately, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, all that for the rest of my life
Yeah.
and not understand that people, much less the energy and situations, change?
Mhm.
We should just say, I am currently madly, committed to you, and I will do my best to commit every day in some way. That's really, to me, what we look at life as, no matter if it's a marriage or anything. We need to commit to our growth and our fluctuation and flow according to what's happening in the bigger pictures. Illusions are supposed to be broken. Illusions are supposed to be looked at even deeper to think, is that real or not? Because ultimately, that's all we really live in is illusions.
See, that is such a deeper perspective, on what life is, that is very hard in this like human brain mindset to actually take on. I don't
Yep. And
it
we fight. We fight
yeah.
everything. I fight. The reason why we're being so disillusioned right now, I want that 5D feeling. I want that 5D answer. Boom, I get my butt kicked back to 3D. We're getting tossed around like a volleyball all day long through energetic dimensional frequencies, not to mention just beliefs.
Mhm.
So we are just I feel like sometimes it's a mixer and you're making like chocolate chip cookies and the chocolate chips are all just in one big pile and then they're trying to mix and be all over the place at one time. And it feels so much better to just be in the bag with everybody else. And now I got to believe this, and now I got to believe this, and now this isn't true, and now this isn't true. It's crazy on the psyche,
It is.
and it makes us feel unsafe. And when I'm together, clustered with all of the other so-called chips, meaning all the people and all the beliefs, I feel safer. But if I get scattered in all of that and wait, grandma believes this, mom believes this, my brother believes this, wait, what do I believe? That gets scary.
Mhm.
Why I want to bring this up too is then and I do this myself, turn to outside sources for information. Now, there's a difference between getting information and there's a difference between following things and people as gurus and saying that that's my truth. This is about discernment. This is about understanding that when I'm that spread out all over the place and don't know what to feel anymore, organically the human will search out things, whether they study, whether they read, they listen to podcasts, they listen to things, on YouTube. I want you to tell me what is happening and what is true. And that's fine for information, but it is not fine for knowledge or wisdom. Knowledge and wisdom comes from in here when you get an aha connection to the information. But what we do is we give all here, okay?
Yeah.
Because we want someone to lead us around. Again, this is the pack mentality of the human programming since day one. You be my savior. You tell me what to do, make it all better. And the empath even does that 10 times more because
Oh, yeah.
energetically this just feels chaotic,
Mhm.
right?
Totally chaotic. Yeah. So going back a little bit, the hard, I think for the human, for myself, um, the illusion part of it is difficult. So when you're talking about discernment, when you're really taking that time to go inward, meditate, what does it really feel like for me? Does it feel icky? Does it
Hmm.
feel, okay?
Hmm.
It takes some practice to get there, to really
Yeah.
trust, what your body and what your heart space is, telling you. But also I wanted to bring out that I found when I started asking and connecting with my higher self and asking my higher self,
Yep.
that discernment became easier for me.
Correct.
So that connection, I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that, because I think that makes a huge difference in this.
And this is what another client of mine did this last week also. She said, Suzanne, though, you talk about discernment, and she said, it's really easy for you to walk in and feel something and know something immediately and, know that you have to challenge something. And she goes, I'm not there.
Mhm.
And I said, then it's your choice to either stay where you are or it's your choice to
Yes.
work at it, do it. We
Mhm.
inherently know this stuff, but the skill set of discernment is not necessarily activated in any of us.
Mhm.
And it's a shame because this is one of the biggest powerful attributes that the human holds is being able to discern what is my connection to my true self saying or what is this 3D crap illusionary stuff saying. And
Mhm.
the only way one does that is really works their bubble per se, their auric bubble, and gets an intimate relationship with that frequency inside of here. Because when I walk into another frequency, whether it's a verbal attack or a verbal exchange, whether it's something I read, whatever, walking through a building, I know this is attacked or challenged, okay?
Mhm.
Because the frequencies are different. Then it's my job to go into a neutral state and start to process and ask questions. And that's what you're saying. Now you ask questions this way.
Mhm.
And by asking questions this way, it's also asking questions within here. Is this mine? Is this not mine? Why is this scary? What do I need to do with this? Why is this challenging me? Why did I co-create this right now? All of these questions are really important. And we don't do that putting ourselves first thing. We don't really do trying new things to practice. We don't go out into the woods and work with the trees necessarily. I'm not saying everybody, but this
Mhm.
isn't the normal thing we teach our kids. I mean, third grade field trips should be let's all go to the woods and, feel the vibrations of the trees and compare them. I mean, we don't do things like that.
Right.
Therefore, the
Right.
human isn't activated in any of the organic abilities and skill sets that we could have easily by the time we're, 10. So, these are choices people have, and most people don't A, even know about it, B,
Yeah.
trust it at first because the skeptic guy was so cute. Because like why would I be that powerful? Again, we go back to I'm not enough. That's not enough. I don't have that worth. So I'm going to give my safe to somebody else. All of those safe, worth, and enough things play every day of our lives. And so when we start to really put ourselves first and say, I am going to feel better in this container by learning about this container intimately and then be aware. And I don't mean going through life like your eyes are saucers. You're literally just aware on your back burner
Yeah.
all the time of what is
Yeah.
challenging you.
Well, and the more that you do it, because it was hard at first. It was like, wait, I don't feel like I bubbled. I don't feel
Yep.
like there's, you just question yourself in that process. And but it becomes more automatic, as you,
Yeah, I mean, think about driving a car, Kim. Do you
yeah.
remember driver's ed? Oh my God, I have to change a lane. Oh my God, I have to put a blinker on. Oh
Right.
my God, or a standard. Oh my God, I have to
Yeah.
shift. I mean, and everything is just like so second nature. We don't even think about how we got from point A to point B because
Yeah.
it's so second nature. And that, in my opinion, is the goal of being spiritual, is being present in the human vehicle and being so second nature that you're on task all day long without being on task.
Yeah, and with that, the fear dissipates. Like it, because you're trusting yourself and you're not focused on like the wrong, I don't know, it's not wrong things, but the things
Yeah,
that are not adding anything for you
value,
at the time.
right?
Yeah, value.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanna go deeper a little bit too in terms of because this happens to me often. I will find something or someone that I wanna study a vein of something, and I'll get into it, and I really because of this discernment thing, I wanna dovetail off this. I really would invite people to be on task with discernment, even when they're listening to videos, listening to
Mhm.
people. I was discussing with a really wonderful dear friend yesterday and client, I've been listening to somebody and reading somebody online, and we're on a public forum. I'm not going to say who, but this has happened with more than this particular person. This has happened with probably three or four different people that I follow on podcasts or whatever.
Mhm.
And at first I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's awesome information. And then I start to get that little wiggle factor, and
Yeah.
I start to get that little wiggle factor, and I'm like, hmm. And again, I think it's really important that you go in to the social forums, whether it's the internet, whether it's whatever, and do some digging, do some due diligence for yourself, do some digging on this person, this idea, that project, that whatever, and see what you find out. And talk about disillusionment, then it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Because sometimes you'll find 8 zillion things saying how inauthentic this is, how this person is lied or taken this material. And I'm trying to get the point across of, listen to your own little wiggle factor, listen to your own little bit of skepticism, because your skepticism in this case is going to encourage you to go deeper into check your facts, right?
Yeah.
At the very same time, do not underestimate that where you're digging and where you're learning may indeed be also illusionary.
Mhm.
This
Right.
is why it gets so hard where we get disenchanted, because the disillusion and the illusion and the disillusion and the illusion, it's just nonstop, right? It's like, what the hell's real and what isn't real? I don't even know anymore. Like, is my hand even real when I smack it on my head right now? I don't know. I mean, that's how crazy this can feel.
Yeah.
So when we're doing this so-called due diligence, please be aware to keep that on task as well, because you have no idea that maybe that person is indeed so incredibly real and their
Mhm.
story is so horrific that this is the fake story that they did to disenchant the story.
Mm. Got it. Okay. That's because, and personally, I've gone through periods of time where I'm like, I am intrigued and I'm listening and I'm, finding different people. And then it starts to feel really icky to me. And I just have to
Yep.
walk away from all of it because
Yep.
there's a point where it's like, yeah. And some of it might be like you're at a level and things that interest you or you have more knowledge on are probably more comfortable for you. Like,
Yep.
and then for me, if I'm not really knowledgeable on that and not understanding it as much, it's not comfortable. And that feeling is like, yeah, I don't, and maybe my higher self, I don't need to go there. I don't
That's
need
a
that
great
information.
that's a great point. Say that again in case
Yeah,
somebody,
that
because
I
that whole spiel you said was super important.
yeah, that I believe that there's certain things I don't need to have knowledge or skills for. Because we're all
At
different. We
at
all have
this time.
different purpose
At this time.
at this time. And it
Because
doesn't
you
mean
might
that
need
like
it.
6 months
Yeah,
down the road, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And I need to
right.
know more about that. I feel the curiosity about that, whatever it is. But it's
So
so
unpack that a
interesting.
little bit more in terms of when I'm reading this thing or listening to this person and I'm getting uncomfortable and there's an ick. The ick might be my ownership of, that's just too much for me and I can't do it.
Yes. Yes.
Or the ick
Or
might be the actual information is ick. So again, we're back
yeah,
to questions, questions, questions.
great. And that is where it's important to find that trust in yourself and ask those questions. And it's okay to walk away from something if it feels uncomfortable like
I
that.
think that's a
You don't have to
great
force
point.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you may revisit. There's a couple people on YouTube, for example, that I years ago, and this is exactly in alignment with what you just brought up. I years ago really looked forward to their posts or their information, learned a lot
Mhm.
from them, and then just went completely off rail for me, and I just absolutely put that away. And I came back and revisited a couple of those people in the last months or so, and some of them were still completely like, "Oh, hell no." And other of them were like, I'm gonna take just that little bit of information and hang on to that, and the other 80% I'm gonna toss," and so on and so forth. There has not been any that I've completely jumped back on board with, however. So I think that that speaks to the fact that you that is doing your own work is going to elevate your own frequency and status in terms
Mhm.
of where you're working with the information. And oftentimes you will outgrow your so-called source of information all on your own, which is the point, right? I
Yeah,
mean, no
right.
one, this
It's
day and age, no one should have a guru. We're
it's
our
your
own guru, right?
right. It's your journey. It's your choice. It's your spiritual path.
Yes.
And that's why the discernment is so critical in everything that you're doing around new things or old things.
And will you speak to how the concept of talking to your higher self works for you?
Um, I've become really comfortable with, like when I'm going into a meditation or journaling or even writing prayer, I start with in connection with my higher self,
Mhm.
and then whatever I'm asking for, or like if I'm asking to bring forward the words for a prayer for somebody, or if I'm asking, should I really get involved in, or should I be going to this party, or like I might, like it could be something silly, or
Mhm.
that isn't super important, or it could be something really important. But I
Should
always
I buy
try,
this bottle of wine or this bottle of wine?
I know, and there I am in the store going, this one,
Or
no,
this one?
this one,
Or
yeah.
both? I do that. We both do that. I hold wine here, and the guy behind the counter is always like, "What
What are
you
you
do?"
doing?
Hey, you're a
Yeah.
great pendulum.
Yeah.
That's
So, and I also call in, though, it's connection with my higher self, but my angels and guides
sure.
guide me. And, as I'm going through this day, give me grace and integrity, and be here with me so that I understand what is for my highest and greatest good and what is not. So that's how I started out usually in the
So
morning.
let's stay with that for just 1 minute and unleash that just a titch too. In terms of, I think one of the things about getting disillusioned for many people, myself included periodically, is working with one's higher self and guidance and not getting what I want. So if I keep asking for something and asking for something and asking for something and it just doesn't come, and I don't believe I'm getting supported and I don't believe I get help. The human body is really trained for instant gratification. We have been programmed for that for eons. It's even worse than it's ever been right now because of the way our world is, technology wise. I want it now. And
Mhm.
if I don't get it now, I don't believe in it anymore. And I think not only myself, but others find it very difficult to believe that the guidance is even helping in any way, shape, or form, or supporting in any way, shape, or form me if I don't get what I want. Let's say I want to lose 20 pounds, and every day I get out of the shower and I look the same in the mirror, and I'm like, I'm doing affirmations and I'm believing and help me eat correctly and give me the encouragement to exercise and, all that stuff. And then it's still the 20 pounds, still the 20. By about week 2.5, 3, you're like, screw it. I mean, that's human. That's human. So how do we get through that hump?
Ugh, it's one,
You go,
myself. This is for myself, and it doesn't mean anyone else has to do
yep,
this, to take what you want. But um, I have come to a place, and it's been really difficult to get there, to um, for myself to say that it's just not the right time. It's not meant to be right now, whatever that
great
is.
answer.
But the 20 pounds thing, that's a tough one because, that's just kind of a continual battle. Um,
Right?
but instead of asking to lose 20 pounds, I ask, give me the discipline as I go through this day to try and choose the right things that are meant my body, that are good for my body. It doesn't
Exactly.
mean I always do it, because you know what? That piece of sourdough bread my friend just made for me is so freaking delicious. I cannot
Yep.
help myself. Like I just,
And it's not that I can't help myself, it's that I get to eat it. I really do.
yeah.
This is where I fall short sometimes is I got one shot in this meat body, and I'm saying it this way this time. I'm
Mhm.
in one shot in this meat body. And yes, it's a divine vehicle, but it's also a meat body that wants to experience. And I might want to experience that bread right now. And I think it's really critical we don't attach guilt to it because technically
Right.
speaking, that one bread is not going to kill my ultimate goals of blah blah, but if we ate the entire loaf 3 times a week, then that's a little bit different. So I think it's all about harmony and balance. I
Mhm.
think it's about work. I'm going to go back to the fact that we have the lovers card this month for Vibe Tribe, and it's no different. When we have a relationship, we put work into the relationship if we care. We literally make things work because we choose to make things work.
Mhm.
And I don't think that that's that much difference than this. And I'm going to point this way for
Mhm.
our guides, our helpers, whatever,
Yep.
the whole big circle of support system, because it's all the same stuff. It's important to A, have the relationship, B, ask,
Mhm.
C, thank and receive and be grateful, and then D, do the work. I mean, spirituality and work is not easy,
No.
and just be on task with things. And I think lastly, what I want to round down with is disillusionment and or disenchanted. We're born to be mystical. We're
Mhm.
born to be magical. That's what this experience is really about in so many ways. And the minute that I get that really darker, screw it,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, because now you just fell for
Yeah.
the program. You literally are falling for the program. And there's already 7.9 billion people on the planet running the program. Maybe you want to go figure something out, you know?
Yeah.
And this young man again the other day, it was so cute because I looked at him and I'm like, dude, you love dragons. And that was one of the things where his eyes popped open. He's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, because they're all around you. And I said, what do you do in terms of allowing the dragons to work with you? What do you do in your life
Mhm.
in conjunction with like holding that feeling of the dragons? What do you, you know, and on and on. And he's looking at me like, well, I used to love them when I was a kid, but now I'm like, you know, an adult. And I'm like, oh yeah. So we want to open up that mysticism by
Mhm.
allowing ourselves no boundaries again, no belief systems, no anything.
Well, and
So
through the energetic healing process, again, everyone's different, but when we were talking about don't attach guilt,
mhm.
because we're so good at setting a perception of what something needs to be or the expectation of what it needs to be. And I found myself when I'm going down my spiritual path, trying to be really disciplined and continually like, if I don't read this, I'm not going to be better and all the things. And what came out of the healing process, and it still does, because I get it as reminders all the time, is that don't forget the joy factor in what you're doing. So,
As
like
you're
go
forcing
ahead.
yourself to meditate.
Yeah, like, I gotta do this. It's the got to that you
Yep.
have to just step back
Yeah.
because for me, we tease about being the Martha Stewart of entertaining, whatever. That brings me joy sometimes. Like if
Oh,
I try
sure.
to entertain and cook, I love to cook,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, I shouldn't be so like such a case when I do this. And I had, stepping back and looking at it differently is now really cool because I enjoy it so much more,
Because
knowing
you're just
that
doing
it
it with
brings
a
me
different
joy.
fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're so again, I tell clients this all the time. It's not that your actual actions are changing, it's the fuel that's fueling the action,
Yes. Yes.
right?
But that took some serious healing time for me to get to a place, and I still struggle with it. There'll still be reminders of like, don't forget to find the joy in what you're doing with this.
Right.
It's there. My mind is like and it's like here is where it sits. It's like, yes, move it into the heart space and just do what you want that makes you feel good about it. What you're
Which
doing.
I think is the antidote for the illusion and the
Yeah.
disillusion and the
Yeah.
enchanted and the disenchanted. I think you literally bottled the prescription is just joy, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just joy
Right.
and gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're out of the fear based, and you're disillusioned and fear is coming in and you're closing yourself down, you're not going to find the joy. That's
Yeah.
just not there. So
So we're gonna round it down with Bigfoot because you and I laugh about him all the time. We both have our cabin up north that people that watch us know about. I drive up to the cabin so many times and I just watch on the side of the road, watch on the side of the road, and I'm like, come on. Can't you just let me see Bigfoot? You know,
yeah.
come on, let me see
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Just that like
Yeah.
walking back into your dimension thing. Like, just let me
And I
see.
get so just like, ugh, I've been asking for this forever. And then where the joy giggle comes in is seriously, Suzanne, look at yourself. You're still just begging to see Bigfoot. The day you stop begging is the day you probably realize he was standing right there. So I think
Oh,
we have to get silly, like you said, about our wanting and our yearning and all of that stuff that's so
yeah.
human too. Like, why can't I have what I keep asking for? And I think that I catch myself doing that often. It's like, are
Oh,
you
for
kidding me? You
sure.
know,
But
so
what's interesting, just one more thing is that I sat down to do, especially after I lost my job years ago, but I did a whole poster thing of what I want
yeah,
and took things out of magazines and pasted it on there and wrote things and
the
um,
traditional vision
a
board.
vision board. And then I put it away and I found it recently and I'm like,
Oh,
wow, I actually, a lot of those things have come to fruition.
I've done
A
that as
cabin
well.
was one of them. Um,
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
and it was just, and it wasn't like I need a bazillion dollars or anything like that. It was just to live comfortably.
Yeah,
and different things. But yeah,
that's so
so
fun.
it's a fun exercise to do if you're really struggling with what you want. And you can do it over a period of time. You don't have to sit down in one thing. Just when you think of something you want, like add it to your vision board and
That's a good
then,
idea.
yeah, eventually put it away and see what happens. Cause I was really surprised.
I've done the same thing. I've done the same thing oftentimes where all of a sudden you pull out that thing and it's like, holy buckets, I've done all of those. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
that, directly aligns with divine timing and allowing the universe to do it in the way that behooves the all. This is when we start to look at our micro macro relationship and realize it isn't all about us, but it's about all of us.
Yeah.
Meaning,
Yeah.
meaning my job is to do my individual journey, but oftentimes I surrender to the overall consciousness on the collective that says, yeah, you're not going to get that quite today, or you're not going to get it quite in the package you think you're going to get it in because this package is way better. So those are the things that I move into when I'm having that disenchanted
Yeah.
point. I move into the concept of, well, maybe this isn't just all about me today, or maybe this is all about me, but it's not about me right now today. So I think there are tactical things that we can do to play with our brain to come back from the cliff and just say, I can fly at another time when it's all ready. It's okay. Right now, I'm just going to skip away from this. And so just monitor,
Hmm.
how you do things. So
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep your eye open on this, everyone that's listening, because like we said at the beginning, this is you can take almost all of this information that we said, you can put it into the sandbox of politics, you can put it into money, you can put it into my job, my family structure and relationships. Just because we had the focus on this, it is the same exact energetic response to everything, because when we're moving through life energetically, I oftentimes say we have 5, 6, 7 sandboxes, but the sand is all the same. It's just the toys that are different. So listen to this information if you choose to and apply it accordingly, because it does work for all of it, right?
It does. It does. It's fascinating. Have fun
Cool.
with it though. That's what I
Yeah,
say.
have fun, right? All right, everybody, on behalf of both of us, thanks for listening. If you choose to, we wish that you maybe want to think about subscribing or sharing or hit the bell button so that you get our information when it's time. And we'd love to hear a comment.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
thanks for sharing. Till
Goodbye.
next, Cosmic Hugs.